How we feeling? You excited?
Yeah, good. I was doing jumping jacks in the back.
Were you? Is that what you do before you go? Oh. Okay, so I don't know if everybody knows this, but you don't preview any of the questions that I'm going to ask you. So, but I do, if it's okay, I want to start off with one that is something a little more personal, because I want to thank you on behalf of all of us for being with us today, because I know you live in LA and are personally dealing with the wildfire crisis that's happening. And I was just wondering if maybe you could tell us a little bit about what you're experiencing.
So, thank you. Yeah, it's been a wild week. That's definitely for sure. I got very lucky where my house is. Fortunately we haven't evacuated, and the house is still there. But it was tense a few days ago. The evacuation zones came closer and closer. So, and you and I were talking backstage, it's the strangest thing. We've all played this game, with our kids, where you sort of sit around the table and be like, if you had to grab 3 things, what would you grab? And when you actually have to walk around the house and actually make those decisions, it was the strangest thing. I was literally looking at my stuff thinking, I love that. I'm going to leave that,
Yeah.
Sort of mentally preparing and really going through this gratitude. You realize when you face the potential to lose things or have things destroyed, you start being immensely grateful for the things that you have and that you may not
Right.
have them. And I was talking to a friend of mine who lost everything. He lost his house and he's lost everything in it. And he has this sense like he has to go do something of service now. He realizes that he lost everything that he's accumulated, and he's been a taker for so much of his life. And he realizes, like, losing everything, it's made him realize he needs to give more. So I think it really does change people's point of view on the world.
I've heard you say a little bit about just what that feeling is like when you find out the winds are not coming to you.
Yeah.
But it's not always a great feeling, is it?
It's just a strange feeling. Like, we've all been peeled to this app called Watch Duty, obsessively. I mean, I check it like a teenager on TikTok, It's like every few seconds I'm checking the app. I know it only updates every 3 hours, but, I'm
You're still checking it more often
every
than that.
5 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like it's like an unhealthy way to view a stock portfolio. Same thing. And it is, the wind is everything. Is the wind bringing the smoke or the fire towards us? Is it pushing it away? And I was keenly aware that I would be watching and going, oh, good, the wind is going away from us. This is what we want. It's pushing the fire away from us.
Right.
While simultaneously fully aware that somebody else is going, oh no,
right.
It's coming here. And it's just a strange duality.
Yeah, well, really sorry about that. We're all thinking about everybody there, and I just want to think about one of the things you mentioned after on one of your Instagrams was you were talking about great leadership and what it looks like in extreme circumstances.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm wondering, how can this team think about how that parallels with just everyday leadership?
So there's no one way to lead. There are some foundational principles. We put people first. We have empathy. We practice human skills. Those are universal, right? But our personalities are allowed to show up. But styles need to adapt for situations. So, like, I've met so many leaders who are like these sort of command and control leaders. They've watched too many movies. Is probably
right.
They make movies about bad leaders, by the way, right? Because bad leaders are really exciting. They come in and they scream and shout at everybody, and nobody knows what to do until they get there.
Right.
And then they come in and save the day, right? That's actually terrible leadership, but really makes for great movies. Good leadership, like they've never made a movie about Marshall or Bradley. When you have great led organizations,
right.
You walk into the office and you're like, hey, is the boss here today? And they're like, I don't, maybe, we don't know. We haven't seen them,
Yeah.
Like, everything just gets done. Pretty quiet. People just help each other. It's better, not very exciting.
Right.
However, that said, in times of extreme stress, that can't work. The whole like, hey, I'd like to get your opinion, and how are you feeling today? In times of extreme stress, it doesn't work. And so that command and control mentality does need to be able to turn on and turn off. Rarely.
Yeah.
So I was talking to some Marines. I visited Quantico, where the Marine Corps selects its officers, OCS. Any Marines in the audience?
Any Marines?
There's one.
Oh, there we go.
And we were talking about it, which is despite what you see on the TV from the military and Marine Corps, they're not screaming and yelling at everybody all the time and telling them what to do. It's just not how it is. There's a lot of feedback. There's a lot of what do you think? There's a lot of leaders getting input from other people because more information and perspectives you get benefits your decision-making ability.
By telling us a little bit about what actually inspired you to write that book, and why do you think it connected so well with so many different people?
So start with why, like all of my work, is semi-autobiographical. It's my journey. None of my books are complete. They all leave off where I am in that moment. And start with why wasn't supposed to be a book. It wasn't supposed to be a TED Talk. It wasn't supposed to be a speech. It wasn't supposed to be any of those things. It came at a period in my life where I had lost my passion for my own work. I owned a small little business, had good clients, was doing good work, and I completely fell out of love with my work. And because superficially my life looked pretty good, I was very embarrassed that I didn't want to go to work anymore. And I kept that feeling to myself.
So you had the feeling, you knew you had the feeling, you just weren't.
Oh no, I didn't. I had
weren't open about that.
I had no passion and no motivation, and I was like, I don't want to be like, I don't want to go to work. In combat, in times of extreme stress, where the trust has already been built, because you can't just show up and expect everybody to trust you. That's not how it works. In good times, you build the trust, and then in extreme stress, you can turn that command and control on, and everybody trusts that you're giving them orders that are probably in everybody's best interest. And they trust. And when that's gone, you turn it off.
Yeah.
And so a good leader knows how to adapt for the situations and personalities that they work with. They don't expect their people to adapt to them.
Yeah. Here at Equinix, we talk a lot about hunger, like the hungry leadership, but also humble. And I know you talk a lot about humility in leadership. Maybe you could just share a little bit about that and what you think about humility in leadership.
I mean, there's not a single person in this room, total of zero, that has achieved what they've achieved, accomplished what they've accomplished, and arrived where they're arrived by themselves.
Right.
Zero.
Yeah.
Every single one of us, somebody took a bet on us, somebody gave us an opportunity, somebody put us in the position that we could completely screw it up, and maybe we did, and then they said, try again. And I think for anybody to have anything other than gratitude and humility for anything that they've accomplished, I would be very suspicious of those. I guarantee there's a lot of fear and insecurity underlying, which at some point is gonna backfire. Humility is everything in leadership, and you see it in all the best leaders. When you compliment them, they go, "It wasn't just me."
Right.
You'll see it all the time.
Trust me, everybody here knows that's the case. This team right here, when it's me. Nobody ever says that comment to Mike. It's like, no, we all know it's his team. It's obvious. But you do talk about a story of that I've heard you talk about the undersecretary. Can you maybe share that story with everybody? I think this is powerful.
It's my single favorite story that I think I've ever told. It's 100% true, too. Some of the ones not so much. So a former Undersecretary of Defense was giving a speech at a large conference, much like this, and in the middle of his speech, he took a sip from this cup of coffee he was holding, the styrofoam cup, and he interrupts himself and smiles, and he says, last year I was still the Undersecretary. Last year I spoke at this exact same conference, but I was still the Undersecretary. Last year they flew me here business class. There was somebody waiting for me at the airport to take me to the hotel. When I got to the hotel, someone had already checked me in. They just gave me my key. When I came down in the morning, there was a car waiting for me, and they took me to the same venue. They took me backstage. They took me through the back entrance. They took me into a green room, and they handed me a cup of coffee in a beautiful ceramic cup. He says, I'm no longer the Undersecretary. I flew here coach. I took a taxi to the airport, took a taxi to the hotel, checked myself in.
Yep.
Took another taxi this morning to the venue, came in the front entrance, found my way backstage, and when I asked somebody, do you have any coffee? They pointed to the coffee machine in the corner, and I poured myself a cup of coffee into this here styrofoam cup. He says, the lesson is the ceramic cup was never meant for me. It was meant for the position I held. I deserve a styrofoam cup. And I think this is the lesson that every one of us has to remember. As you gain seniority in an organization, it does come with perks.
Yeah.
You get more money.
Right.
You get a better parking space. If you leave your jacket in another room, someone will go get your jacket for you. If you're a junior, you get your own jacket, right? Like, people will treat you differently, and it does come with perks. But we have to remember, they're not giving it to us. They're giving it to the position we hold. And we can enjoy it, but we can't feel like we're entitled or do we deserve it, and we have to be grateful for it. And when danger threatens the tribe, we have to be willing to give it up. That's the rub. I'll tell you a quick addition to that. I know the CEO, you know who the CEO is and you know who this company is.
Okay.
But we'll leave those details out.
Yeah, no, we're good.
But I know the CEO of a major company who retired very recently. And every year there's a huge big party in Hollywood and he always gets invited. And he didn't get an invitation. And a friend of his was over his house. He's like, you got your invitation to the party, right? And his friend goes, yeah, of course. He goes, I didn't get mine. I probably just got lost in the mail. It never occurred to him that they don't want him at the party. They want the CEO of that company at the party. The invitation went out to his successor. Yeah. But it never occurred to him that he's not invited.
Right. That's powerful when you think about that,
yeah.
For sure. So I know we have many people after we announced you sent me messages of how they first read your book, Start With Why. And I thought instead of going through all the amazing things you had in there, maybe you could just start by telling us a little bit about what actually inspired you to write that book.
Oh, there we go. And we were talking about it, which is, despite what you see on the TV from the military and Marine Corps, they're not screaming and yelling at everybody all the time and telling them what to do. It's just not how it is. There's a lot of feedback. There's a lot of what do you think? There's a lot of leaders getting input from other people because more information and perspectives you get benefits your decision-making ability. Nobody expects you to have all the answers. It's ridiculous. So getting points of view and perspective is really important. But in combat,